We've heard a lot about what doesn't work for us as women with the Me Too movement and the toxic masculinity and the recent Epstein Files. And we know what doesn't work for us as women, but do we know what does? Today's guest is going to talk about relational masculinity is the next frontier beyond toxic masculinity. It's a beautiful conversation with GS Youngblood, and I welcome you to join us to find out more.
Soul Nectar Show, the Soul Nectar Show. You're invited, delighted to discover who you are. Anything is possible if you believe. So join us on this beautiful journey. Soul Nectar Show, Soul Nectar Show.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show where we talk about all things essence, where we come together around the campfire and we share our stories of connection to that which is greater than us, the big mystery beyond the veil, those synchronistic moments that lead us inexorably to a deeper understanding of why we're here and what we're doing on this blue dot in the middle of a sea of stars. And I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird, and I like coming in here week after week to explore all things essence, which in the human experience is all things human expression. And boy, right now every time I come on this show, I feel like I'm saying, it's so heated up right now. There's so much going on that I just feel like it's like the constant reveal these days. Like, I think it started in 2020. I kind of remember it might have started in 2020, but man, it's like on hyperdrive this year. This whole year has been reveal, reveal, reveal. Look at this. Oh my goodness. It's just, some of it's quite shocking, and it just like it keeps going. And one of the threads that I noticed we're working on collectively is what the Gene Keys, in the Gene Keys is the sixth key of the shadow of conflict. And the shadow of conflict at its very, very root core of that shadow of conflict is the separation of genders. And probably backing up even more than that is this idea that God is somehow separate from us, or we're somehow not God and we're just like in a body somehow separated from the thing that created us, that makes us breathe, that stuff, that essence. But like, if we go the next step, it's the masculine and feminine. And then from there, it just keeps separating and separating and polarizing until there's just like all these, conflict, turbulence, chaos. And it's all about unity somehow in this big fat mess. But how do we get there? How do we rewire this thing while we're deconditioning it? And it's like you're becoming aware of all the things, and then you're like, oh, I'm doing it. Woo! And then you're correcting that. Meanwhile, somebody else has already judged you for doing it. It's like you can't even get your feet on the ground, people. First, I just want to start with a nice deep breath. Can we just all forgive each other for being awkwardly, messily human, deconditioning ourselves from thousands of years of conditioning that taught us to be separate and polarized and not care? Can we forgive ourselves for basically being psychotic and trying to come home to each other? I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but I just feel like there's a space for compassion and forgiveness here. And it starts by realizing that it's the pattern, not the person. And when we realize it's the pattern, not the person, we can see the person and the divinity in that person, and we can actually decide to embrace the person despite the patterns and then deal with the pattern together as a team. And I really feel like that's what we're being invited to do with this masculine, feminine conversation. And as we know, it's like, it's not just externalized in a gender and a body, it's in us. We have masculine energy in each of us. We have feminine energy in each of us. And even those labels start to get a little bit like, do we have to use them? But right now we do. So for the purpose of this conversation, we are going to use those conversations. We're going to say masculine and we're going to say feminine. And I know that some of you are non-binary and you don't consider yourself to be either. And I totally respect that. And for this conversation, we're going to go into it masculine, men-bodied, with the parts, and feminine, women bodies with the parts. And that's the conversation we're going to have today and unpack it. You guys with me? Come along. Can we go? I hear a yes. I feel a yes. There's a yes. Okay. We're doing it together. And so I want to introduce you to my new friend, GS Youngblood, who is the acclaimed author of the groundbreaking book, The Masculine in Relationship, which challenges the modern notion that all masculinity is toxic by offering a model, the masculine blueprint, for men to become grounded in their own power and more relational, I love that word, relational, with their feminine partner. Because I think we can all agree we didn't like the non-relational part. So I like this word. And this is a blueprint that makes sense to men, which is cool, and that any man can embody. And it also fits in with our modern Me Too culture without being watered down. Because nobody should be watered down, y'all. We want to be full expressed, no matter what body we're in. Can we agree? Yes? Yes? Awesome. Let's do it. Yes, I'm excited to have you on the show. And I'm just so curious about what's going to unfold. I mean, as I told you, it just comes out of my mouth and I have no idea what I'm going to say. It's like spirit goes, this is what we're talking about. And I go, cool. I'm like sitting here like, yay, let's find out.
Let's figure out what you are doing on this blue dot that you talked about.
Yeah, exactly. Tell us.
What you said, when you talked about forgiveness, because this domain of intimate relationship, which is where I'm coaching, it's fraught with danger. We both know that. And sometimes it requires a little forgiveness because sometimes we regress down to our less mature parts and do things that are not relational. And it goes both ways. And so for guys, who's my audience is guys. I'm always speaking sort of in that orientation. A lot of them, I know that there's a lot of pain around a lot of asshole guys in the world and misogyny and things like that. What I will say is the men that I'm trying to talk to are the ones that have more slipped into the nice guy and they're just pleasers and it's like they're a wisp of a cloud. There's nothing there. And then their feminine partners are like, where are you? That's the danger that I'm out helping guys with is how not to be a pleaser, nice guy. But while you do that is how do you be relational while you step into more of your own volition and your own leadership. And a lot of guys, they want this. They don't know how to do it. A lot of their women want this from them. And they don't see their man able to figure out necessarily how to get there. And so I'm trying to be the help for those guys that I didn't have back when I was getting divorced nearly 20 years ago. That was a different time.
Yeah, that was a whole different reality already. Like it's already gone. Well, not for everybody, apparently, but for a lot of people. I really appreciate what you're saying about men falling into the trap of being the nice guy. And then this opposite camp in the right wing that talks about I can't believe some of the things come out of their mouths, but like one thing I recently heard that really got under my skin was like, women just want to be beat the crap out of and then they'll respect you. It's like, no, that's actually not it. That's not actually it. But there's got to be something between that and walking on eggshells around your woman. So as like in total fear of to like say anything that's going to piss her off. And then once she's mad, it goes into this, this giant storm. And you're just like, I just said a little thing.
You brought up right-wing politics. I just want to say for everybody, I mean, the whole world's gone extremism. So it's like I don't listen to anybody now because there's so much extremism on both ends of really any topic. And this one's no different. So let's not even worry about the extremism.
You can't deal with the extremists. Yeah.
Well, we need to speak truth. People, on one side need to get more extreme to combat the extremism on the other side, and it just gets farther apart. Let's talk about something that works. What actually works and gives people the fulfillment they need in relationship. It does exist, and it doesn't exist at either extreme. So we can talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, I like that you're talking about the nice guy, and I do feel it comes from this fear of walking on eggshells is what I sense. What are the challenges that a nice guy faces? Like, why does he become so nice? What is underneath the niceness?
Nice guys are scared. They're scared underneath. It typically comes from their childhood, where there was some form of a power differential, which is often the case. You have parents, you have a child. They're the all-knowing, all-powerful, and you're not as a child. And unfortunately, that and many nice guys somehow gets transported into their modern-day world, where they feel a little helpless. They feel very scared to assert themselves over anybody else. And so what they do is they hide that they have needs and they just try to please everybody else. When they don't have needs, they never disappoint anybody and they never make demands on anybody. And they also try to meet everybody else's needs as a way to stay safe. That's really what it is. There's, like most of us, we're seeking psychological safety. Pleasers do that by giving up their own needs and then meeting everybody else's. And here's the thing that is true about this. And this is from one of my friend, Dr. Glover's book about No More Mr. Nice Guy. It's a great book. You should talk to him. But the nice guys appear nice on the surface, but guess what? Underneath, they're actually seething. They're seething because they never got the needs met. And it's the same needs that they pretend they don't have. And so they stay perpetually resentful. And their women can feel this. They think they're hiding it, and they're not. Their women could feel this and see right through them. And it's very painful. I think you would agree, and your audience would agree. It's very painful for the feminine when they're presenting one thing, but you feel something behind that that's different. And then you feel that cognitive dissonance. And that's just like nails on a chalkboard. So that's why nice guys just tend to please. Their radar goes out. They're looking for danger and ways to avoid danger. And it's usually by pleasing and withholding their truth and things like that. And to answer your question, that's the core of why nice guys are the way they are.
Yeah, I've actually felt that. And my partner and I have worked through some of this together where it's like, what is the right relationship? And I'm really in tune with the feminine part of this conversation. And I can relate to the pleasing part. Like, right, I had a whole part of my life where I felt like I was just pleasing everybody. And I'm a mom. So I really felt like I had to please everybody and do everything for everybody, right? And there is like that seething lava flow of resentment underneath the surface when your own needs aren't getting met and you feel like there's no space for you to ask for what you need and get it. Or if you ask for what you need, then you'll be judged for like not being able to hold it all.
Yep. So you hold back on those needs.
Right. It's like, why even express it? If I express it, then everyone's going to go into a tizzy and all upset. And then it's going to be like 5 days of volcano from everyone because I asked to move, because I asked to have some space. So like, I feel like that is something I can resonate with from that experience. And I mean, what are some of the solutions to this? Like you see, what are some of the solutions for stepping into your own power and in a way that doesn't take away from anybody else, but just augments, right?
Exactly. Because it's not power over, it's power within that we want to bring to the world. Yeah. The answer to what you're asking is the framework for my book. So I call it the Masculine Blueprint, and it has 3 parts. And my assertion is that if you, as a man, actually, take it away. If you want to inhabit the masculine, whoever you are, if you embody these 3 traits, you will be living more from your masculine. And I tried to boil these traits down into things that were both practical and applicable and actionable, as well as realistic in today's world. And so very quickly, the 3 elements are respond versus react, provide structure, and create safety. So respond versus react it's a quality of groundedness. It's a quality of stillness. And you have the spaciousness within you to really operate moment to moment from choice rather than reactivity or your wounding or your scripting or your habit or anything like that. You're actually choosing how you want to be moment to moment. So really, it's all about getting much more grounded. And you could feel that quality. You meet somebody who's very grounded. You feel their stillness, and it kind of makes your nervous system relax a little bit too, because they feel so steady. That's an energetic quality, not something they learned how to put on like a coat.
Yeah, you can't really fake that.
Yeah, you can't, because it just comes out. You can feel it immediately. Within about 10 seconds of meeting somebody, you can kind of feel how grounded or not they are. So that's the first quality. And that's really the foundation that underlies all the other work that I do with men. If you don't have a grounded nervous system, you don't even have the price of admission yet to being relational. But when you do that, then we move on to the second element of the blueprint, which is provide structure. And this is really about bringing more leadership into the relationship. As nice guys, a lot of men have completely abdicated any form of leadership in the relationship. And when I'm talking about leadership, I'm not saying be the leader. That's very different than you need to bring more leadership into the relationship. Both people bring leadership in different ways into the relationship. I'm saying to men, the ways that you can or should bring leadership, you need to do that in those ways. And so bringing leadership into the logistical domain, which is kind of the day-to-day living and the leadership required around what are we doing for recreation, home maintenance, finance, budgeting, just all the child rearing and discipline. You would empathize with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all this daily stuff. That's logistical leadership. That there's a lot of ways that guys can step up. There's sexual leadership, and even before or in the bedroom, and really creating the conditions for more healthy sexuality between the two of you. A lot of guys are really passive in sexuality. And there's ways that they can be much more active and lead more that don't have to do with being Christian Grey from 50 Shades of Grey. There's a lot of ways that manifests in very, very healthy ways. And then there's emotional leadership. That's the area that we usually abdicate to our feminine partner, is noticing, being able to zoom out and witness that there's a kink in the connection and actually bringing it to the table and proactively trying to solve that. Most guys usually shy away from that. We just hope that things blow over. So that's emotional leadership. So those are all the different domains that I'm working with guys, how they can bring a lot more leadership. And I mean, so many women I know are dying for this from their man who's gone very passive.
I think it's because a lot of women, when, let's say, a woman has gone through early childhood trauma or sexual trauma or something like that, and is processing that in her life, like trying to transform herself to figure out what is right relationship. How can I have a supportive relationship with a masculine that treats me well, that I treat well, and that we treat each other well? And then, usually what ends up happening is that the love shows up, the big love, the resilient love, the love that's like, I've got myself and I can hold space for you. Then you fall apart. It's just like, oh my God. And I've seen this over and over again. Women are like, I just met this guy and he's wonderful and I'm with him. And then like all of a sudden I'm safe and all my shit comes up. Or men too, right? And so like we get to learn how to hold each other through the dismantling of the last paradigm, right?
And it's interesting because you really set up what you just said, sets up the third element of the blueprint perfectly. So you introduced it really well, because it's creates safety. And in this case, we're talking about emotional safety. And you talked about women. And you're talking about women that they're carrying it all. They're carrying the external world and they're carrying all their wounding, and they're carrying by themselves in many cases because the man wants nothing to do with that part of her. And then you meet somebody that creates maybe a container of safety for you. Well, of course it would come out because you've been holding it down and just trying to keep it all together for so long. And that doesn't surprise me at all that your friend or your acquaintance said that.
Oh, I've gone through it too. I mean, I've seen people go through it, right? And people wonder, like, is there something wrong with the relationship? And I'm like, no, there's something extremely right. And I've had men ask, well, but what did I do? And it's like, you made a safe space. Good job. Now let's help you, right? Because we all need to understand how to hold, because this is not normal, like from the past. This is new. This is a new paradigm that we're opening up of healing and restoring ourselves from these last thousands of years where it's been this model that doesn't serve anyone, into a new way of relating with each other, which is we have to actually integrate that. We have to release the traumas of the past and integrate it. And that's not like a snap of your fingers. That takes time and presence and care. It takes a lot of care. And so what are some ways that you help people to do that? Because I know when you get in the middle of it, when I looked at my husband when we were going through it, he was like, how do I hold this? And our coach was like, you're being a mountain. You just need to be a mountain. You need to be as big a mountain as you can get, to hold this situation. But what do you say? What's your experience?
The answer is almost the sum total of all the work that I do, because that's the thing. It's like, how can you create that emotional safety where she feels safe? Because a lot of things will unfold from there. And I think I can try to do distinctions. There's kind of trauma and pain she carries from her younger years. Father, brother, could be mother, and really, really old stuff that all predates their current partner. And one of the problems is that the men often get brushed with what's the phrase? But they gotta get hit with the brushstroke of their father's dysfunction, and then it sort of gets projected onto them as if they did those same things. And the guys are like, "That's not me. That's your father." And what I tell guys is, you can do that. You can kind of litigate what was your fault and what not. But if you could actually, for a moment, just when she's projecting some of her father's stuff, for instance, on you, can you be bigger than that? Can you be bigger than the wound that she has, and not go into your self-protective, not take it quite so literally, quite frankly, and hold your ground, hold the space, hold her. What you're going to do is give her a new experience of what it's like to be with a man. You're going to be the man that actually treated her well. It stayed, unlike her father, whatever the wounding was. So the really old stuff that predates you, that is, maybe getting projected on you, if you can be bigger than that, you can help repattern her. in a certain way because you're showing her what's possible. Now, there's another kind, which is there's traumas and hurts from you, the man, like stupid stuff you did over the years that was very non-relational and wasn't caring for her heart. And what this is where guys need to bring emotional leadership. They need to go back and remember those episodes where they really hurt her and let her down and left her on her own, whatever it is, and own it, bring it up. And I have a whole protocol in my 3-month online program, the Relationship Repair Bootcamp. We have a whole module on this, how to go back and repair old wounds, because they'll stay in her psyche. They're not going anywhere. She may not be saying something about it, but she's feeling it. And it's that frozen city in her psyche. So I teach men to go back and own those. And that can have a really powerful effect when they do that proactively, when they do it really from the heart. I found this opens so much because then the past is not impinging on the present quite so much. And the present starts to be about what's actually happening rather than what's happening plus all the other stuff that never got resolved over the years.
Yeah. And I just want to say, like, as a person in a feminine body, that as an emotional wave by human design, like, whoa, Nelly, there's just a lot that goes through the experience. And I found that the 4 agreements are just a great guide because don't take anything personally. I mean, that's so hard to do in the moment, though, especially with your partner, with your beloved, because they become like your safety. Like that person is your safety in many ways, helping you to create the safety within yourself and sharing safety with you. But it does bring up the needs of both people's inner child. If whatever needs did not get addressed, it can be even like I've seen where some men didn't have a nurturing mother. And so then the partner comes along who is nurturing, and then everything kind of breaks apart, and if they have a moment of breakdown, that person goes freak out, right? Because you're not allowed to have breakdown. I need you to be nurturing. So, how do we work through some of these things when it's so multidimensional in my perspective? Because it's subconscious, it's ancestral, it's past lives, it's this life, it's so complex what's going on in the human psyche.
Right, which means we don't have a technique that can encompass all of that complexity. So that takes me back to something I mentioned earlier about getting grounded. So again, I'm talking about what I do with guys. I think it applies to women too, but I'm just talking guys.
Getting grounded is a good idea for women too.
And I think it looks different for both. But for what I'm teaching guys to do is generally they get more grounded through embodiment practice. And embodiment is a specifically designed set of exercises that you do to really calm your nervous system down and bring you more into the present and all of these things. And so that's the foundation. When you've got a million complexities that are involved, you're never going to find the right thing to say in advance. You're just never going to. All you can do is be here now, respond, and have an accurate assessment of the actual danger that is involved in this moment. Because sometimes our danger, it's like we got 6 tigers hunting us. Our nervous system's way up here and we're all jacked up, but you don't have 6 tigers. You're just having a conversation with your wife. So we've got to bring our fear level down to what's commensurate with what's actually happening. And usually what's actually happening is pretty innocuous. And then from this grounded place, you just have that ability to now choose rather than react. And nobody chooses to really flip out and raise your voice and say unkind things and stonewall. Like nobody actually chooses that. It's just your nervous system looking for protection, dysfunctionally, very dysfunctionally. So if you could come to more of a space of choice by clearing out some of the anxiety in your system, then the next thing you do is you'll organically know what to do in most cases. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's the hollow bone, as we practice shamanic healing in our community. And the way we do that is we got to get really, really grounded. We've got to be in a space where we can let go of what we think is going on and just open and listen. And that can be really hard for some people when they're really, let's say a deep wound has gotten touched. They're not even necessarily aware. There's been times I wasn't even aware. Why am I so hot on this? What is going on? Why am I wanting to explode? What's going on? And then I just need a time out. Like I need to go and be with myself for a while and practice my mantras to get myself, my nervous system super triggered.
And what you just described is kind of self-regulation. Like I need to self-regulate. And let's not leave out the role of co-regulation and the beauty of a partner, man or woman, doesn't really matter, who could stay grounded on the other side and just be like, sweetie, I'm right here.
It is so powerful to have that. I got to say, ladies, it is such a great thing. It's a blessing because this person is not looking to make me wrong.
Yeah.
This person is curious to see what's happening for me and how can I help you to move through it to the other side. It's a very different engagement. I wanted to say we took a pause in the recording for just a second, but I want to say, like, one of the things that I really appreciated about how you handled that, GS, is that you actually just really neutrally, cleanly explained what you needed and informed me. And I was like, okay, sure, no problem. We can take a pause for a second and resume. And I think that is so refreshing, is when we actually say what we need, but not in a way as to like make the other person wrong for what we need. Of course, in this case, there was nothing like that. But I'm saying in relationship, it's so nice to have a neutral informing of like, I am going through this piece of my process and I need a little moment to go and process that. And then I'm going to come back to you. Right.
It's one of the loving things you can do, is just be straight up about your needs and get really normal about asking for them. And when we don't ask for needs and we finally do, it becomes this big thing and we make a whole production out of it. But when we get better at saying what we need and do it from the heart and it's keeping the connection, yeah, I think that is what's possible. What you described is it kind of normalizes the whole thing, and such a beautiful thing to say, this is what I need. And even knowing that you might not like it, not you, but generically. That's the thing. Can you do it even when you know that it's going to potentially slightly upset your partner, but you got to be clear about it, even if it's hard.
Yeah. And I found that over 20 years of not asking for what I needed, because every time I did, it was a big fight. I stuffed my feelings. Like I just kept telling myself, dig deeper, just keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper in yourself and just like keep holding it. And eventually it's like, no, I just can't anymore. But when you're asking for what you need, you're actually honoring yourself. And when you honor yourself, things relax in the nervous system. And it's like, I realized when I wasn't asking for what I needed and I was just trying to like step over it or get by and hoping it goes away. First of all, it never went away. It just kept coming back more intense the next time. And then it was all built up because I was still resentful about the last thing. And I never dealt with my feelings about that thing. And then maybe I had a bunch of wine instead and just tried to cover it up and just, let's go have fun. I don't want to deal with this tonight. And there's so many times, so many years I lived my life that way, and then just go to my psychotherapy session once a week and try to vent it all out and get over it. That wasn't a model that works for me. And so, but on the other side, like what I have now is like, of course we are facilitators and co-teachers and partners and co-parents and all the things, right? So it's extremely immersive. And sometimes I'm like, does the awareness ever shut off? Like, does it ever stop? You just have a break from all this awareness. Then it can get to feel like too much that way too. And sometimes you just need to be a messy human and just go, well, it was messy, or warning, I'm about to be messy. I'm tired of being correct, or I'm tired of trying to do this the perfect way. Cause there can also be like this perfectionism in the spirituality ascension culture.
It's nice to be able to just say, hey, can I just vent for a little while? Don't take anything literally. Just let me go. And this is what it feels like. I think one of the interesting outcomes of just me doing a lot of this work is feel like sometimes I'll borrow from the archetypal feminine energy and just say like, I'm not saying it is this way, but it's like, it feels like this. It feels like you're doing X, Y, and Z, even though I get that you probably don't intend to, but that's what it feels like to me. And it's very freeing when everybody just agrees to kind of be at that there's sort of the informational plane of the communication, and there's the energetic, and the informational plane needs to make sense, needs to be connected to facts, but this doesn't. And if you free yourself from the informational, it's a beautiful way to express, but everybody's got to buy in, because the problem is the feminine is often expressing at that energetic level and the masculine is at the information level. And then we try to reconcile your emotions to facts. Well, they're not supposed to be connected to facts. It's the energetics of it and how it feels. So,
I feel like what's so fascinating is how this could be playful and fun, but it's not until we get out of the wounding part. The serious wounding part needs to be moved through. And I just don't know any real super easy way of doing that. You just got to move through it. You got to feel it to heal it. You got to move through the phases of it until you get to enough of an understanding of self that you really are operating in that higher dimension you were talking about. And then it can be fun. It's like, I'm going to be Kali right now. Ooh, I mean, that could actually be exciting, like, ooh, Kali's coming in here. Wow, Nelly, let's see what happens with Kali. And you could be like, I'm being Zeus. You could turn it into an archetypal play, which would be super fun instead of like it having to be so, tied to narrative and history and wounds of the past and all of this stuff that just makes it all super heavy.
Playing with archetypes is a little bit part of what you were talking about. And yeah, there's really good teachers out there doing work like that and helping people through the structure of a workshop, being able to bring these out rather than just telling them to do it in their real life. Yeah, this can be fun. It can be a fun dance of masculine and feminine between us all. If we let it, if we know how to surf those waves. It's difficult though. It's dangerous territory.
It is dangerous because, if a woman gets something up her sleeve, she's, and it hurts. Oh man, watch out. So, until it's passed, it can be a little bit treacherous waters to navigate. That's where that steadiness and that groundedness is so important that you were talking about. And I know that, the work that you're doing is helping men to navigate a practical way to understand what is essentially a wave moving through their field. And some of the stuff that moves through the feminine it's not tied to a reality. It's really it's a subconscious flow that comes through.
It's an inherent contradiction. It's just like, how do you teach a man to be more in his power and more relational with a strong woman? Like, that seems like a contradiction of itself. I either have to kind of give into her or do my thing. And how do I reconcile those two? So let's just like John O'Donohue, he would write about. He's just like the beautiful contradictions of we humans. It's
fun stuff. Definitely fun. Well, I feel like I have hope in what you're doing. And I know many men are also taking up the lead. Like, okay, the men are arriving. The men are arriving. You've been asking us to come for a while. We're arriving. We understand what you need now. We're getting to redefine what it means to be a man, what it means to be a man in a relationship.
Yep. I want people to believe that things can be different. I think that's one of the biggest things. It gets dark. You know this. I know this. Your audience knows this. It gets dark in a relationship when he's not meeting your needs and he's not feeling you, and then vice versa, and everybody wants to punch out. It's like, this has got to be easier. And I say this to men all the time. I caution you on thinking that it gets easier out there. You can find people that are really much more flat in their affect and like never have problems, but it tends to be the flip side of the coin. Maybe they're going to not be as interesting as somebody who's on fire. And that's one of the amazing things about being with a strong woman. It's like she's full of life and fire and capability. And there's a flip side where it can get intense emotionally. I'm not saying it's always like that, but it's just usually like that. If you know how to ride that wave as a guy, then you can have a beautiful relationship. And, I feel like that describes the relationship I'm in. A very powerful woman, got a strong masculine and a strong feminine. Also, most amazing person I've ever met. And it's not always easy. But, when you do the work, you can ride the wave a little bit more. And it makes for a fun partnership. So, men, it can be different. Ladies, it can be different. Just got to do the work.
I love that you said when you have a woman that's on fire. When I met my current husband, my partner, I was on the heels of 2 decades of trying to contract myself so as not to cause an argument, to avoid conflict, right? So I spent 20 years trying to figure out how I could avoid conflict and making myself smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, like not have a conflict. And then I was like, screw that. Basically, I'm out of here. And he's like, what? So there was that to contend with, the total different understandings of the realities that were being experienced. And then when I started my spiritual path, I started stepping into my power and my voice, right? And deciding I was going to be as big as I was just going to do my thing. And then dating and not having a lot of success with finding anybody that could deal with me. And then I met my partner and it was like, I don't know. He just kept telling me, I love it. And I was like, what? And then I would have a event or something and he'd be like, bring more. What? What are you talking about? By now I've been rejected. Oh no, this is great. Bring more. What else do you have to say? You have more? And I was like, what? I mean, it's taken me literally like 12 years to realize that he means it.
Yeah.
And wow, like how liberating that is. And where we can just, like you said, like it is a lot, but he's also like, I wouldn't want it any other way. I want a strong person. That's why I was attracted by you, because of your fire. And so when you said that, I was thinking about my own fire and like, yeah, he celebrates my fire. And then the trick is to not make it all about myself, because now that he's done that, I'm like, wait a second. I feel like you need to ask for more, like what's going on for you? I'm not sure you're really asking for everything you need. And then we slip into that nice guy thing sometimes. And it's like, wait a second, stop being so nice,
Yeah, that's the art of to be able to do both, to be able to be very spacious for your partner and all her fire, and very grounded in your own needs. And so that's the art of this whole thing.
Yeah. And to be able to clearly state your needs without blaming anybody. Taking accountability. These are my needs. This is what I need. I didn't ask for it. I'm finding myself really tired now. I need to say it now. I need my needs met. Thank you for listening, and thank you for acknowledging me. Clear communication. I love it. This is how we can work together, you guys. And I love this conversation because what it shows me is that the work is all of ours. Every person, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So if you're listening and you found this supportive, I would love a like or subscribe, and to share it out with somebody who you think could benefit from it. And always when sharing these things out, I find it's really helpful to say, I found this interview really enlightening and I learned so much from it. I thought you might be interested too, because you are into this kind of topic, or heard you say this or that, rather than you really need this. That is a surefire way to get a no. So yeah, be gentle with how you deliver things and invite people to things. I always ask you to share, but only in really right relationship, because personal development work it's sacred. It's sacred, and we never want to step on anybody's toes. But this sounds like really good stuff. So check out the free offer is the MIR Toolkit. It's gsyoungblood.com/toolkit. And you can get that for free. Check it out. See what GS is offering and share it out with whoever you feel could really benefit from this work. I encourage you to do it. We all have specialties, and GS is working with the guys. So send them over. And thank you so much for being on the show. GS, appreciate you being here with us. And I know it's been a little wonky with your travel arrangements, but we got through it. We have some beautiful gems, and thank you so much. I like to end broadcasts with kisses. You don't have to join me in this unless you want to, but I like to give people kisses. So here they come, everybody. Thanks for staying till the end. Here they come. Love you guys so much, and we'll see you next time on Soul Nectar Show. Bye for now. If you found even one gold nugget in this episode of Soul Nectar Show, will you do us a favor? Will you subscribe, like, and share this episode? Maybe even write a comment and let us know what you thought about it. We really, really want to engage with you at a much deeper level. Let's be part of community together. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now. To dive in deeper to nourishing conversation, visit soulnectar.show.
Soul Nectar Show. Awaken the Soul Nectar Show. Take a sip from the drip of nectar from the source of